Okay, folks, let me just start this episode off by saying something. This is going to be a fairly short episode, and there is a reason for that. You see, the little pointer here on this map, it points to the town to be discussed on this episode, Farrar. Well, just a tad bit, not even a mile, southeast of Farrar, there is this other town, Dean's Heights. Well, Dean's Heights, it is the name given to a neighborhood of which was once the mill village, associated with this mill, this building right here, that stands in the town of Farrar. And Farrar, it does lie right next to Dean's Heights. And it is Farrar that is going to be the focus of this episode. Since Dean Heights is listed as a standalone town site, that kind of makes it eligible for its own episode. So that is where the history of this mill and its associated housing would be discussed. Here, on this episode, however, we are going to be more interested in how this town ever came to be called Farrar. And so, for starters, we will have to turn to this manuscript collection, the Owen Cicero Farrar Papers, the documents of which reference a man for whom this town is likely named after. No, I did not take the time to go down to the library and go through those documents. A few of them are letters of correspondence, but most appear to be ledgers and other details of business operations. I doubt there would be much of a need to spend the time and fuel for an episode like this. If I was doing I don't know, a biographical sketch of the man or the cotton industry in the area, possibly. But here, for this episode, probably not much of a need. However, the papers do exist, if you are wondering. And there might be details in there that surrounds the costs of building this large mill complex right here. Now, as far as the town of Farrar itself goes, technically, it no longer exists. It is even listed in the gazetteer provided by NCpedia that it is a former town in central Edgecombe County near the southwest limits of Tarboro. And now, these days, it has been subsumed just about wholly by Tarboro. So, tell me, folks, where was the original site of Farrar? Was it here? You know, it can get a bit confusing. I am going to say that it was likely here, given that Farrar's cotton mill, it was located right here. Yes, even today, Farrar, it does show up on Google Maps as a kind of distinct community, pointing to this area right here. Now, this entry, well, it talks about Farrar once being called West Tarboro. Well, West Tarboro, it also shows up on Google Maps, though its location is not in this area right here, but a little bit northeast. Then the entry says West Tarboro was changed to Hilma in 1893 when it was incorporated. Okay, then, so where is Hilma? Well, it can also be found via Google Maps under the name of Hilma Park. It, however, is much closer, in fact, close enough as to be almost right next to Farrar. So, what is going on here? Well, firstly, locations, they can at times be a bit deceiving, especially historically. All three, Farrar, Hilma Park, and West Tarboro, each does have its own history, especially Hilma Park, which is a bit of a strange one, with info that really has nothing to do with Farrar. Furthermore, maybe, just maybe, Hilma Park is nothing more than a derivative of once what may have been a larger Hilma. Maybe, possibly, but that kind of information is beyond the scope of this episode. Here, we are dealing strictly with Farrar, not Hilma. But in 1899, Hilma, it was reportedly changed to Farrar. Now, this entry says probably for O.C. Farrar, who purchased the land for this here cotton mill. Apparently, even historians do not know if the town was named for Farrar. I guess there is no conclusive evidence. Supposition here, though, is likely more than 50-50. I mean, a man by the name of Farrar purchased land in a town that came to be called Farrar. That sounds like a connection, more than it does a mere coincidence. And with that said, do you think we are done? Well, I thought so, but something came up. You see, something here has changed. Take one good hard look, folks. Do you see something missing? No, maybe you're not familiar with the area. Now, you take that good hard look once again. Yeah, where is that tower? Yup, it was taken down, like this past January. That's at the time this episode was compiled, by the way. It could be 15 years from now. I don't know by the time you watch this, but they went behind the backs of all those who reside in Tarboro and they just took it down. Yup, here it is, lying on the ground after being knocked over. And that, it was no accident. But, yes, I hate to say it, this episode, it is going to be a tad bit longer than expected. And yes, we do have to talk a little bit about this mill. So, this facility, it was originally constructed by Owen Cicero Farrar in 1888 to house his Tarboro cotton mills. According to the Charlotte News, the textile industrial edition of February 21st of 1917, the two mills that made up the Tarboro cotton mills closed. And they closed when World War I, called the Great Clash in the article, broke out in 1914. The mills, they stayed empty until about November of 1915 when William Allman and R.M. Hart of Tarboro and John H. Rogers and W.C. Hill of Norfolk, Virginia, purchased them, renamed them the Hart Mills, and started a series of upgrades. Now, a year does seem to be missing here, 1935. So, I guess I won't be showing you that very newspaper article. But reportedly, in a June 28th, 1935 article, appearing in the Rocky Mount Telegram, the Rocky Mount Evening Telegram, it was announced that the Hart Mills would be closed indefinitely. The mills, however, they would reopen, eventually employing over 600 workers, and it went on to become part of Burlington Industries before the textile industry began moving their operations offshore and ensuring their permanent closure. Apparently, though, the water tower, it will be restored and painted, and it will remain in Edgecombe County, or so they say. But where? Right here, where it once stood, or someplace else? Today, this mill building right here, it operates as Triton International Woods. So, folks, tell me, what does Triton Woods do? Well, by the looks of portions of this building, it is a bit hard to believe that this complex is still being used today. But apparently it is, and I am going to assume that portions of this building are not being used today, like the part you see right here, and I think you can see for yourself why I think that. But basically, for those of you that do not know, Triton Woods, it is a hardwood flooring importer and a distributor of solid and engineered flooring products since 2002. They are a full service, multifaceted international company that provides unique products to customers around the world. The company specializes in manufacturing high quality hardwood flooring, timber framing, heavy timber furniture, paneling, staircase, doors, cabinetry, and more. So, folks, tell me, does any of the wood in your house, your furniture, your doors, your framing, your whatever, come from Triton Woods? The company located right in this building, right here in Farrar.